Have you ever felt that strange chill when someone smiles at you, yet something feels off? It's like a hidden agenda lurking beneath the surface. Imagine navigating through a crowd, only to discover that someone is secretly plotting against you. Sounds dramatic, right? But this is the reality for many of us. What if I told you that understanding your instincts is the first step in identifying those masked feelings? Picture yourself in a room full of people, laughter echoing around you. Yet one person's gaze feels heavy, almost accusatory. How do we differentiate between a casual acquaintance and a hidden adversary? Carl Jung believed that our subconscious holds the key to these mysteries. He taught us that our feelings and reactions can reveal more than we realize. Have you ever noticed how your gut instinct can sense tension before words are even spoken? Stay with me as we peel back the layers of human interaction. What if those unspoken words are the very clues you need to protect your peace? By the end of this journey, you'll be armed with insights to spot and stop those who harbor hidden resentment. Let's dive deeper into the psyche and uncover the truth together. Identification of nonverbal signals. You know, it's fascinating how much communication happens without a single word being spoken. I've often found myself in situations where a person's body language speaks volumes. For instance, crossed arms can scream defensiveness, while a lack of eye contact can indicate disinterest or even contempt. It's almost like a secret language that requires a keen eye to decipher. I remember a time at a social gathering where, despite the words being friendly, the way someone rolled their eyes at another person told me everything I needed to know about the underlying tension. Understanding these nonverbal cues has been a game changer for me. I've learned to pay attention to facial expressions, the subtle shifts in posture, and even the tone of voice. Sometimes someone might say, "I'm fine," but their fidgeting hands and tight-lipped smile tell a different story. It's those small details that can indicate hostility or derision lurking beneath the surface. I've started to trust my instincts in these moments. My gut often picks up on things my mind might overlook. I vividly recall a meeting where one of my colleagues was dismissive of another's ideas. While the words were polite, the smirk and the way he leaned back in his chair spoke of superiority and disdain. It was an eye-opening moment that reinforced my understanding of how important it is to tune into these signals. Learning to identify these nonverbal cues has not only improved my social interactions, but has also made me more empathetic towards others. Sometimes, I find myself observing interactions in public spaces, like cafes or parks, where people are conversing. It's intriguing to see how a slight arch of an eyebrow or a tilt of the head can completely change the meaning of a statement. I think back to those moments and realize that in any given interaction, there's a layer of communication that goes beyond mere words. This awareness has empowered me to navigate social situations with more confidence and clarity. Ultimately, recognizing these nonverbal signals is about being perceptive and open-minded. I've come to appreciate how our bodies can betray our true feelings, and it's a reminder that sometimes what isn't said is just as important as what is. By honing this skill, I feel better equipped to manage my relationships and respond appropriately to the unspoken dynamics at play. Analysis of verbal and social behaviors. When it comes to communication, I've become increasingly aware of how words can often be cloaked in sarcasm or disinterest. It's interesting how some people master the art of saying one thing while meaning another. I've noticed this in conversations where someone might say, "Oh, that's just great," but the tone and context suggest anything but. It's almost like a dance of words, and understanding the rhythm has become essential for me. I remember a colleague who excelled at masking their true feelings. During team discussions, they would often respond to suggestions with a half-hearted, "That's an interesting idea," while their body language screamed boredom. Over time, I learned to pick up on those cues and realized that their feedback was often laced with sarcasm. This awareness transformed how I approached collaboration. I became more attuned to the underlying currents of our interactions. Being mindful of these verbal behaviors has made me a better communicator. I've started to ask more open-ended questions and observe how people respond. It's fascinating how their choice of words can reveal their genuine sentiments. I think back to a conversation where I asked a friend how they felt about a recent event. Their initial response was vague, but as I probed further, I noticed their tone shifted, and they began to express their frustrations candidly. This process of analysis has not only enhanced my understanding of others, but has also encouraged me to be more authentic in my own communication. I find myself reflecting on how my words might be interpreted and ensuring they align with my true feelings. Discovering this layer of social interaction has deepened my relationships and fostered a sense of trust with those around me. In a world where sarcasm can often mask sincerity, I've learned the importance of cutting through the noise. By focusing on both verbal and social behaviors, I feel more equipped to engage in meaningful conversations. It's about creating a space where honest dialogue can flourish, and I hope to encourage that in all my interactions. Jung's projection theory. Delving into Jung's theory of projection has been a fascinating journey for me. The idea that we can project our own feelings and insecurities onto others really resonates when I think about my own experiences. I've seen individuals lash out in hostility, often reflecting their internal struggles rather than addressing the real issue at hand. It's as if they've created a shield, deflecting their own vulnerabilities onto someone else. I remember a time when I had a heated discussion with a friend who seemed to be projecting their frustrations onto me. They accused me of being unsupportive, but I realized later that it stemmed from their own feelings of inadequacy. Understanding this concept helped me navigate the conversation with empathy rather than defensiveness. I started to see their hostility as a cry for help rather than an attack on me. This insight into projection has also made me more self-aware. I've caught myself at times feeling resentment towards others for traits I dislike in myself. Recognizing this tendency has been liberating. It allows me to reflect on my own shortcomings instead of projecting them outward. By acknowledging my feelings, I can approach situations with a clearer mindset and a willingness to grow. Jung's theory also emphasizes the importance of recognizing these projections in others. When I encounter someone who seems hostile or dismissive, I remind myself that it could be a reflection of their inner turmoil. This perspective has helped me maintain my composure and respond with understanding rather than defensiveness. It's a continual practice, but I've noticed a significant shift in how I approach conflict. Learning about projection has reshaped my interactions and deepened my understanding of human behavior. It's intriguing to contemplate how our inner worlds can influence our relationships and how awareness can pave the way for healthier connections. By recognizing these patterns, I feel more equipped to foster genuine understanding and compassion, both for myself and others. Cycle of emotional reactions. It's pretty fascinating how emotions can spiral into behaviors that are less than pleasant. I often find myself reflecting on the cycle of emotional reactions, especially how anger and resentment can manifest in such subtle ways. Have you ever noticed how, in a tense conversation, someone might seem calm on the surface but is actually harboring a storm inside? That's the thing about emotions. They don't always reveal themselves in the loud, obvious ways we expect. Instead, they can sneak up on us, manifesting as passive-aggressive comments or even just a cold shoulder. I remember a time when a friend and I had a disagreement. At first, it felt like we were both on the same page, but as the conversation progressed, I sensed an underlying tension. Instead of expressing her anger directly, she started making snide remarks that left me feeling confused and hurt. It dawned on me then that she was grappling with resentment that she hadn't voiced. This experience really opened my eyes to the subtleties of emotional expression. It's as if our emotions can create a script, and we can either choose to follow it or rewrite it. What I've learned is that recognizing these emotional cycles is crucial for maintaining healthy relationships. When anger and resentment go unchecked, they can lead to a breakdown in communication. I've found myself in situations where I've had to take a step back and assess my own feelings. Am I projecting my frustrations onto someone else? Or am I allowing someone else's unspoken feelings to influence my mood? The clarity that comes from understanding these cycles can be a game changer. It's not enough to just recognize when someone is upset. It's vital to understand why those emotions are bubbling beneath the surface. My approach now is to create a space where open dialogue is encouraged. I've discovered that when I address these underlying feelings directly, it not only helps to diffuse tension, but also fosters a deeper connection. After all, who wants to dance around the issue when a genuine conversation could resolve so much? In many ways, this cycle of emotional reactions is a reminder of our shared humanity. We all have our moments of frustration and hurt, and those feelings can easily transform into behaviors that hurt others. By being mindful of this cycle, I've learned to approach conflicts with a sense of empathy, both for myself and for others. It's about recognizing that we're all navigating our own emotional landscapes, sometimes stumbling along the way. Building authentic relationships. Now, let's shift gears to something that's been a revelation for me: the importance of cultivating authentic connections. It's funny how, in a world full of social media and superficial interactions, we often overlook genuine relationships. But I've come to realize that building these connections is essential for not just identifying, but also effectively dealing with hostility. A few years back, I made a conscious effort to invest more time in my friendships. I started asking deeper questions, really listening to what my friends had to say. It was refreshing. Suddenly, I wasn't just another face in their lives. I was someone they could trust. This authenticity allowed us to discuss uncomfortable topics, including feelings of resentment or frustration. I remember when one of my friends opened up about being upset with me. Instead of shutting down, we had a heart-to-heart that strengthened our bond. The beauty of authentic relationships is that they create a safe space for vulnerability. When you know someone truly cares, it's easier to discuss difficult emotions. I've found that when hostility arises, either from myself or others, having that strong foundation makes it much easier to address issues head-on. Instead of deflecting with sarcasm or passive aggression, we can talk it through, allowing for healing instead of hurt. Moreover, these authentic connections help us to see beyond the surface. I've learned that when someone seems distant or hostile, it often stems from deeper issues that can be addressed if approached with compassion. The more I invest in understanding my friends, the more equipped I feel to navigate those tricky emotional waters. In a way, building authentic relationships is like creating a safety net for yourself. You surround yourself with people who genuinely understand you, and that makes it easier to confront the challenges that arise, whether in the form of hostility or everyday misunderstandings. It's amazing how much lighter life feels when you have a network of support, and it encourages me to be a better friend in return. Development of intuition and self-knowledge. It's fascinating how our bodies can sometimes pick up on things our minds aren't quite ready to confront. Developing intuition is like honing a skill that allows us to read between the lines of social interactions. I remember a time when I was chatting with a colleague at work. On the surface, everything seemed fine, but I couldn't shake off the feeling that something was off. It was as if my gut was telling me there was an undercurrent of tension that was unspoken. This experience led me to dive deeper into understanding my own emotional responses and how to interpret them. Self-knowledge plays an essential role in this process. The more I learned about my triggers, what makes me feel anxious or defensive, the better I became at recognizing similar feelings in others. For instance, there was a coworker whose comments often felt passive-aggressive. By reflecting on my own emotional responses, I started to see patterns in their behavior. It was almost like having a cheat sheet for navigating our conversations. Understanding myself helped me to identify when I was being met with hostility, even if it was subtle. I've also found that journaling about my feelings significantly boosts my intuition. Writing down interactions I've had and how they made me feel has allowed me to track my emotional responses over time. This practice has enhanced my ability to detect those veiled signs of resentment or animosity in others. It's interesting how documenting my thoughts can illuminate aspects of my relationships that I might overlook in the moment. The more I engage with my feelings, the sharper my intuition becomes. Moreover, intuition isn't just about gut feelings, it's about learning to trust them. I recall a situation where I ignored my instincts about a friend who had been acting distant. I kept rationalizing their behavior, telling myself it was just a phase. But later, I realized that my intuition had been spot on, and the friendship ended up deteriorating. Embracing my intuitive feelings has transformed my relationships, making me more attuned to the dynamics at play. As I continue to develop my intuition, I recognize that it's an ongoing journey. It requires openness and a willingness to confront uncomfortable truths. By prioritizing self-knowledge, I've found that I can better navigate social interactions, making me more resilient to hostility. It's empowering to know that I have this tool at my disposal, ready to guide me through the complexities of human emotions. Strategies for defense and resilience. Building emotional resilience is akin to creating a sturdy fortress around your feelings. There was a time when I felt overwhelmed by the negativity of those around me. Interacting with someone who consistently displayed hostility left me drained and questioning my worth. I realized that I needed to implement strategies that would not only defend my emotional well-being, but also enable me to respond to negativity in a healthier way. One of the first strategies I adopted was setting boundaries. I discovered that knowing my limits was crucial in protecting my mental health. For example, I had a friend who frequently engaged in toxic behaviors, often disguised as jokes. At first, I laughed it off, but over time, I learned to express that such comments made me uncomfortable. By clearly communicating my boundaries, I began to feel a growing sense of control over my interactions. It was liberating to assert myself and take charge of my emotional landscape. Another effective strategy was practicing mindfulness. I started to incorporate mindfulness techniques into my daily routine, such as meditation and deep breathing exercises. This practice helped me center myself during moments of tension. I remember a particularly heated meeting where a colleague aimed passive-aggressive comments at me. Instead of reacting defensively, I took a deep breath and reminded myself to stay present. Mindfulness allowed me to respond with grace rather than anger, fostering a more constructive dialogue. Additionally, I've learned to reframe my perspective on hostility. Instead of viewing it as a direct attack, I try to see it as a reflection of the other person's struggles. Understanding that their negativity may stem from their own insecurities or frustrations has helped me detach emotionally. This shift in mindset has made it easier for me to respond with empathy rather than defensiveness, ultimately diffusing the situation and allowing for more meaningful conversations. Lastly, building a support network has been invaluable. Surrounding myself with positive, encouraging people provides a buffer against negativity. When I encounter hostility, I often seek advice from trusted friends or mentors who can offer a different perspective. Their support not only boosts my resilience, but also reassures me that I'm not alone in navigating these complex interactions. By employing these strategies, I've developed a more robust emotional framework that allows me to confront hostility with strength and composure. As we wrap up this deep dive into spotting and stopping those who may secretly harbor resentment towards you, I want to leave you with a powerful thought. Remember, knowledge is your greatest weapon. By understanding Carl Jung's insights, you can navigate these tricky waters with confidence. Have you ever experienced that unsettling feeling when someone's smile doesn't quite reach their eyes, or when their words feel sharp, disguised as kindness? Trust your instincts. These subtle cues can reveal a lot. You don't have to be a mind reader, just stay aware and observe. Now, let's turn the spotlight on you. Have you ever confronted someone about their hidden feelings? What was that like? Share your experiences in the comments below. I'd love to hear your stories and learn together. And if you found this video helpful, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more insights into understanding human behavior. Next time, we'll explore how to transform these negative encounters into opportunities for growth. Imagine turning hostility into understanding. How would that change your relationships? So, keep your eyes open, stay resilient, and remember, you have the power to create a positive space around you. Until next time, take care and stay aware.